hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.
Good morning, and today let us welcome Joseph Goode, who's joined us from Bulgaria. Welcome, Joseph.
Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. And what's it like in Bulgaria today?
Well, it's the typical Bulgarian 30-degree summer, actually, which we get spoiled with. So I'm sitting on our 7th floor balcony with the mountain.
Oh, how beautiful.
And yeah, it's a lovely city, actually. Very chilled and civilized and safe. It's the safest place you can imagine, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, the police don't take any nonsense, so I think the criminals are all a bit afraid. They're actually going through a huge protest at the moment. I don't know how much is covered in Britain at the moment, but it's monolithic. The whole country is up in arms for about probably 6 weeks or so now, protesting day and night, filling the streets, and are trying to overthrow their very obviously corrupt government, who have just been kind of caught in all this corruption and embezzling all the money from the EU, etc. So the people have been shafted by this sort of mafia for so long, and they're all actually very much united in, like, we want to get rid of you, you bastards. There's not a left and a right. Everyone just wants freedom,
Yeah.
Which they haven't had for long here, to be honest.
No, they haven't, but we're actually coming into a very interesting phase now of the whole transition from darkness into light.
Oh, yeah.
People will have noticed that they've already said that there'll be a lockdown on the 17th of September again, a second wave. They're blaming it on a second wave, a spike in the virus. I can tell you categorically that that is just a pure smokescreen, and we will go into lockdown, but it will be for arresting the corrupt people that are running our countries. And this is why the lockdown is being forced upon us. So there's a positive coming out of it. Nothing to do with the COVID-19 coronavirus. The news will tell us that. But this is the final stages of the arrests of the deep state and the cabal. So the lockdown will only last as long as it takes to arrest all of the people that they need.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they seem to have sort of locked that in with the evil plan that was going to go ahead anyway, right? I mean, people think that the lockdown was just for this takedown, but I think it was long since planned, and they seem to have interwoven the takedown with their own dirty plan somehow, which is amazing.
Right from the very start, the virus itself was created or was let out by the deep state, the cabal. But the global financial, the collapsing of the world's economy was planned, but it wasn't planned to start in March. It's planned to start later on in the year. They jumped on it very, very quickly and decided because of this had happened, they could use this as the perfect smokescreen.
Oh my God, it's a heck of a movie, isn't it?
It's one hell of a movie. So they've gone along with it, and they've managed it incredibly well. And there's been a few little hiccups on the way and a few little things that have happened, but the bulk of it has gone exactly according to plan.
Seems that way, yeah. And I think people aren't necessarily seeing all the blocks that Trump's removing all the way along the way, and all these, every single institution he's targeted. Yeah. And all we get is that, he's some kind of white supremacist, but it looks exactly like he's doing what you said, Charlie, and actually taking the buggers down at last.
Exactly. And the last ones are the most dangerous ones, and that's why he's keeping out of the way. Because most of them are in Congress. They're in the government. Sorry?
What about snakes?
Yeah, exactly. So
people are going to start to see how deep it goes. The trafficking thing obviously has been censored like crazy, and that's the big deal with the smokescreen of racism and whatnot. Particularly in Britain and America, which are probably the least racist countries out there. I mean, London, just everyone seems to get along in London. Racism's hardly hardly even accepted there. You can't even be racist. And if you are, then people don't do anything about it. If your granddad doesn't like black people much, he's not going to go and beat them up. So it's one of those things, you can't really change people's ingrained views of the world. And particularly in Bulgaria gets a bit of a hard time for this racism thing, where they basically just sort of protect their way of life, really. They're not specifically racist, they just don't like certain ways of life, like grooming gangs that come into Britain, and no one's stopping to ask who these people are, what their intentions are, and do they respect our way of life. They just, it's this sort of kindness over logic and no regard to what the actual effect of it is.
Sure. And of course, they get all put into categories all the time. It's identity politics, which has been generated by the left to put everybody into a box,
Yeah, so tribalism, really, pushing you into a set of, and making sure that they disagree and there's something to, I mean, it's like a mantra war at the moment. No one's really arguing about anything. No one's particularly racist, but somehow they've created a war with this Black Lives Matter and then All Lives Matter. But who would disagree with All Lives Matter, really? I mean, it's just like something to fight about that they've created out of nothing.
And yet they sort of tried to quash Children's Lives Matter.
Oh yeah,
fascinating.
And that's criminal. I think that's the big commodity that people are overlooking, because children are worth more than gold. Let's face it. And it seems to be as bad as that every single operation they do, they somehow can pluck children from that operation, whether it's the social services or whether it's a war that they've created and they'll pluck the children, or whether it's some MyLab project. And all of these systems seem to somehow end up with some children. And I think people just don't see that at all. And that's why, they've completely covered that up. Like this film coming out, this Child's Voice, is it? Which looks brilliant, which I've talked about before, about the fact that films never talk about the cabal, the secret society. They never have that subject, and they never have child trafficking as a subject in a Hollywood film.
Sure.
And when they do, he gets blocked and banned, right? This poor guy.
Yeah.
Name.
You just had a little baby, and I've often said in life, you never ever know what true love is until you have your own child.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yes, it's a real game changer, actually.
Isn't it?
And I mean, it makes you feel even more like a warrior, that you need to sort this world out and protect her. Exactly. And she's the number one at the moment. She's an angel. She doesn't even cry, this little girl. Jaina, called Jaina Joseph, actually. Yeah. Jaina Joseph. They have to have the fathers.
Yeah, that's right.
In their name, so she's Jaina, which is glad. I'm glad I'm not Barry or something, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
How that went down.
Or Kevin.
Yeah.
But no, it's we're living in a fascinating time, and you've obviously done an awful lot of study over the last 12, 15 years. Yeah,
I mean, I was freelance since about 2000. I sort of started getting some freelance artwork. I'm an artist and designer, or was, and I gave myself this free time, really, where I could listen to stuff while I was working, and that started to sort of always, it was always there, because the more you dig into this stuff, the more fascinating it gets, really. I think it started off with the 9/11 CD that my friend brought around, all kind of flustered, like he was being followed by spies. Hello, Marky. And from then, it's just incredible how much has been going on, and how brilliantly they keep it all a secret. I mean, that's the big operation. And when you work out who owns all the sources of news that you get, and where their interests are, you start to understand why the truth very rarely gets through. And until the internet, actually. Internet seems to be a sort of double-edged sword, but it certainly helped the cause, because I didn't know any of this without YouTube and whatnot.
No. It's very interesting. I've watched a couple of press conferences that Donald Trump has done. I've listened to what he said. And then you
frozen, Charlie.
Sorry?
So you frozen then. What did he say?
Whatever he says, it seems to get interpreted very, very differently in mainstream media from what he actually said.
Oh my God, it's incredible. I can't believe people can't see through it at this point, Charlie, that he says something, they twist it, lie about it, and put it out, and somehow he ends up a bad guy.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
The thing is because of the mentality of people, they're either Conservative or Labour or Republican or Democrat. I think nowadays that's gone out the window. I think it's whether you're on the right side or on the wrong side.
Mm.
You're trying to.
It all comes down to that. Yeah, it's good and evil, actually. I think he's a little gem. The reality is that he's a gemstone in a world of corruption.
Yeah.
And they're all so dirty. And when you look at world leaders, there's not many good guys out there. So he's really a lone wolf, fighting even our own government. And, you know, we can criticize our own government, and it's not because we're just making things up. We want to hate Britain. We love our country, but we can see what's happened to it, that these people have run it since the year dot, actually. And they've never had our interests at heart.
None at all. The only time they have our interests at heart is when they want our vote. Thereafter, we don't matter.
Mm.
I was
Absolutely.
talking to somebody yesterday about the explosion in Beirut that killed 200 people. Had the lockdown not been enforced, or had social distancing not been enforced, it would have killed 30 or 40,000 people. But it still killed 200 people, and they don't care about killing 200 people.
Oh no, just a day's work. I mean, they're capable of everything. They're the people that send people to war. Let's not forget. Yeah. So they're the nastiest people they can find. Of course, the system. If you're a criminal in charge of an enterprise, you're not going to hire good people to do your dirty work. You're not going to get a politician that's a good guy. He's going to be dirty as you. You're actually going to try and find the worst type of person who will do anything you say. And I think that's the type of people that they get. And obviously loyal as well, which loyal to a secret society, which makes sure that they don't, turn on you like the dirty criminals they are. But they're in fear of their own lives by serving these snakes.
They certainly are. But the one thing that I've got huge comfort in is I was told this obviously was going to happen last year, and it has happened exactly. They didn't give me all the details, but they gave me the basic foundation of what was happening, and it's happening bit by bit by bit. And more people are beginning to understand that Charlie isn't a fantasist at all. It's all based on fact. It's coming true. Everything I said that was happening with the global financial reset, the revaluation, etc., this is all happening now. The quantum financial system is happening. And we're getting rid of what's evil in the world. You've been studying the evil side, the dark side, for a long time, haven't you?
Oh yes. And it's quite a bane on your life, to be honest, a burden to carry. But it feels like that sometimes there's a serial killer down the street, and he has some kids locked in his basement, and you know about it, and you're telling everyone else, and they don't believe it. It's just too dark.
Yeah.
And they don't believe it. And I don't know, the proof's all out there. It's not like we're making this stuff up now. You can follow it all. It's documented. And the plan was written out a long while ago. Yeah. And I've been predicting all this stuff with social media, saying that the virus, and we predicted all of this, the virus, the takedown of the economy, and when it comes true, somehow that still doesn't seem to, the penny doesn't seem to drop. So they're certainly going to need to expose it in a big public way, I think, for people to actually grasp it. And we need everyone. People
are so programmed, though. Their mind is so programmed that if it's not on mainstream media, then it's not true.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, the celebrity culture is crazy. How they've made people worship people with money and not people with sort of integrity, and they can just do their ritualistic go ahead, and people just think they're wonderful. I think they maybe think they're great because they're so rich. Like Beyonce, she's a black girl who got so rich, so she's obviously wonderful and she's winning at life. And I think those priorities are something that need to change, where people are just, life is like, let's just get a load of money and shaft everyone else, get more than everyone else, and you'll be all right. And not, how you can develop yourself and how spiritual evolution is important, not just chasing money. Money gets in the way. You just worry about all your stuff all the time. I'm glad I haven't got any now, Charlie.
It's the fact that they publish it as well. They publish a rich list, and you could be in the top 10 or the top 50 or the top 100. You just go, and what does that mean? What does that mean? Yeah, and people like Bill Gates. My brother seems to think he's wonderful because I think he's done so well, and he's this nerd who's such a genius. He's got rich, but I think the reality is that these people even Bill Gates were actually Zionist connected puppets. That they had a big spyware company, a big operation, and they put someone to head it who was like an actor, who's the geek frontman for it.
who probably don't. I don't think Bill Gates is very intelligent at all. I don't think he invented anything, as an example. But he looks the part. He looks like this genius geek and then he's doing all this good work. But he's got his fingers in so many pies. I think that's a black op. The whole thing's a black op.
Yeah.
He's the face behind it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we know what these people really get up to. He was an Epstein guest, and that should be ringing alarm bells with everyone. I mean, the fact that he's on that island and people trust him, that's super questionable.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to pop. I mean, I hope he goes down.
Well, yeah, and he's already under arrest anyway. So,
well, I heard this, and I'm fingers crossed that things are going to turn out wonderfully.
yes, I'm sure that. Well, I'm very, very confident they will, because so far everything I've been told has happened. But it's very interesting to see those that I thought in my life were intelligent, who just don't get it at all, don't see anything. They're completely blinded by the media.
Yeah, I think there's like a difference between knowledge and wisdom somehow, that people can read loads of stuff and you can read the stuff that might be accurate, maybe inaccurate. And once you know all that, you're knowledgeable, so you know everything. But wisdom is a bit of a different thing.
Yeah.
How to sort of actually analyze that in the first place and not trust authority. I mean, authority and men in suits has been sort of behind all this, and the medical industry and science was bought out by bankers a long while ago. So they just control that as a sort of industrial operation. And so science being trusted is a mistake, I think, because we're not given the good science. And I think that's something that's going to come, is the technology is going to be the real breakthrough. And money and everything aside, money is not going to be too relevant when this technology comes out. I think it's that advanced, from what I can gather, which is very exciting.
Well, we're starting to see Nasara being rolled out in America right now as we speak. And there's been little telltale signs. First of all, the debt forgiveness, mortgages being cleared. I had a memo through this morning.
Yeah.
Telling me that there was another load of people that have had their mortgages and student loans forgiven.
Wow, I better check mine.
But also he's created somehow an insurance policy, medical insurance policy in America that's totally affordable for everybody. And it covers pre-existing conditions. That's never happened in the history of the world before.
I mean, he's done these groundbreaking moves. He did something the other day where he basically wanted to make it criminal to make homosexuality criminal. He wanted to ban that globally, which no one else did that before. You know, it's still illegal in about 70 countries, the homosexuality, and no one did anything about it. And Trump's gone in and said, "Look, man, this is not good enough." So for him to, people think he's a bigot or right wing, it's kind of ridiculous. He's actually a pretty decent middle of the road guy.
He is, very much so. And from what
how do you think it's going to filter through to sort of Europe and things? How quickly are things going to turn around? Leadership.
Look, we all know that it's America first, but it will filter through. I've had people from the United Kingdom contact me and say utility bills have landed up being paid without them even knowing. Nobody knows how. I've had 2 people that their mortgages have just gone to zero and they can't understand why. So it's filtering through.
Whoa.
It's filtering
through.
Well,
I know Trump was over here with the Bulgarian Prime Minister called Borisov, Boris, Boyko Borisov. And he apparently, which was sort of alternative media, but he agreed to step down after Trump's meeting with him. So he's this terrible sort of Russian mafia boss, effectively. And I think Trump's just said, you have to go, and he's agreed to it. So I don't know how that one will pan out, but his influence is certainly deep. I know the military ops in Romania as well at the moment. The US have just landed there, so I don't know what they're up to in Romania.
But they're arresting an awful lot of people right now as we speak that are easy to pick up, but there's some that are not so easy to pick up. That's why the lockdown will come. But he's also made it very, very clear with people that if they cooperate with him, then he will be lenient with them. But if they won't cooperate with them, then they'll go to Guantanamo Bay and be dealt with there.
Well, they certainly deserve it. I think people are going to be outraged if these people don't, if they do start getting away with it. There's going to be pitchforks at dawn.
If you're involved in paedophilia, he's made it mandatory death sentence. He did that some time ago.
Incredible.
And that's right. That's totally right. When you're draining that filthy swamp, like I've had some of the insights because people have sent me so much information about what's been going on with the paedophile gangs. And like I had somebody send me some intel through the other day that Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation stole $6 billion of the money that was going to Haiti.
Oh yeah.
After the disaster there, and the government have been chasing for the money, and the media have refused to cover it.
I mean, that's very public to Haiti people. It's a huge deal, and it's not a conspiracy theory whatsoever. They did steal that money. They built like 6 houses, I think, with that much money. That was it. I think 6 houses, and they've completely just destroyed the country in the probably with their own hurricane. Yeah. Who knows? And didn't give them a penny, and it's just unbelievable crimes against humanity. And people are arguing about ridiculous defunding the police and nonsense like that when the money's been stripped, and not just from Haiti, the money from Ukraine, the scandal with Joe Biden, the billions that Biden's taken from the American people. And I think we're going to find out where the British tax money actually goes, where the real money goes, and these black ops and these secret projects which take billions and trillions of pounds are going to become exposed. And I think that and a big part of the abduction, I should say, not just sex trafficking, because a big part of it is the abduction for the MyLab projects, which MyLab, if anyone's looked into it, stands for, I was horrified to find out, it stands for military abduction, where the military are taking, shed loads of people, and they're going into these operations as sort of super soldiers, and they could be memory wiped and utilized in a base God knows where. And the vastness of that is certainly, it's something to consider, not just pedophiles and sex trafficking, but actually using our kids and adapting them. And I think that's been a big part of it. Even the video games, I'd heard that they were actually selecting the very astute kids, because they're literally surveying everyone who's playing, and they can go straight to the kid who's the sharpest, speak to his parents and say, oh, we want to bring him into this, special project because he's talented. And then before you know it, this kid's drafted in to some off-world military project.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be an awful lot come out, but I've been told very, very clearly that we'll only ever learn about 20% of what's going on at best. Yeah.
So I think that's probably enough as well, to be honest. I mean, it's endless. It's endless, the vastness of it. Yeah. I mean, the space project stuff, they're deliberating whether UFOs are real still. And people don't even know that one. But I think the scale of it, when they realize there's hundreds and thousands and millions of different races and species out there, way more sophisticated than we are. We're, effectively like a bunch of insane monkeys running around killing each other. And they're just watching us thinking, okay, we're just going to keep our distance from them. Like you would study wildlife, you'd sit in a hide and you wouldn't want the wildlife to see you, to affect them. And you wouldn't stop them killing each other, I guess. You just watch that. I think that's actually a part of their agreement galactically, that they can't interfere with the sort of natural process of a race. Although I think we are getting help now, I hear, and Trump has been getting help as well from higher beings and whatnot, the looking glass thing. I mean, he's doing it somehow, and it does seem a bit magical. So it looks like he's getting some help. What do you think about that?
I know for a fact he's getting help from that area. From the people that surround him, he's has a number of spiritual beings around him that are keeping him informed.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I followed Corey Goode a few years ago, and me and my sort of compadres have been super into him. And he predicted this whole process a long while ago. And he described how the good would get better, but the bad people will get worse. And there's going to be a lot of sort of collateral as they fight it out, because it's a war and it's a big thing going on, even though it's sort of invisible still from people. But all these things, all these explosions and fires going on, no doubt are connected. I think looks to me like they might be destroying a bunch of evidence.
That's exactly what's happening.
Is it?
Exactly what's happening, yeah.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Evidence.
Yeah, Insidious, these underground networks and what they've been up to. I think just burning it is the only chance they've got of hiding some of the crimes they've committed.
Correct. But I think that the surveillance operation that's gone on for the last four years as a minimum, they've gathered so much information already. They have more than enough, so they may well destroy the evidence, but I think they already have enough evidence.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trump's had I suppose he's had his special forces and all the spyware, which a president has access to. So him getting in power and having that kind of might means that he can spy on all the people that have been spying on everyone else. And sure. It sounds like he's gathered quite a lot of evidence in the process.
Yeah, no, so he's definitely done that. And you know, when they started this, they had everything clearly planned and mapped out. They had everything they needed. And I'm waiting for the day that he welcomes Julian Assange back, because Julian's obviously helped him a tremendous amount of information.
Oh yeah.
And he's become a very valuable part of this takedown, if you like. Although Trump has made a conscious effort not to just use the information he's got from him, but to go to companies like Google and demand the emails legally rather than getting them from the back door. He's gone to the court order. I want these back. And of course, that was hardly covered in the media. The Clinton emails had to be released. The court issued the authority to have them released, and they hardly covered it. It was hardly anywhere to be seen on mainstream media.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's super. I mean, how close did we come, though? I mean, that 1% that Trump beat Hillary by or whatever, it's terrifying to think how this could have gone the other way. I think when people look back and see what they just, avoided so narrowly, it's going to be the subject of plenty of decent movies.
If she hadn't fixed the figures, apparently he would have won by 60 to 70%.
I should think so, yeah. And obviously they're desperately trying to win this one. But they must know that they've got no chance at this point. I mean, Trump's going to win absolute landslide, as far as I can tell.
Correct. Yeah, but it won't be made to look that way, and they'll probably try and fix it in some which way so it lands up in the courts until next year.
I mean, I don't know when they're going to fix the media and take down just the nonsense and change the law, maybe, because they can say what they want basically at this point.
I understand he's taken control of CNN right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he's allowing them to expose themselves, so he doesn't look like a dictator.
Great. Going to turn things around.
Yeah, it'll turn things around. I'm looking forward to the time he takes control of social media as well, because the amount of people that are following myself who get fact-checked for putting out actual facts from government websites that we find on government websites.
Yeah.
Even the WHO website, they told us it's in contradiction to what they're saying. I said, well, it's actually come off their website.
My Facebook feed's a joke. I mean, every single thing is censored on my Facebook feed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And yeah, I mean, I get, yeah.
But no, we're in a fascinating time right now, aren't we? It's an amazing time. I'm really excited about the future, but we're having to go through this awful period.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's the most biblical times. It really is biblical. I've never felt so alive, to be honest. I'm quite excited about the whole thing, and I've had a lot of time to follow super closely. I mean, I'm a bit obsessed, bless my wife. Yeah. I'm like, look, I tried to chill out on this stuff, but at the moment I want to follow every single thing because this is crazy. Yeah. And people I know, a lot of them follow it now very closely, but some people just don't see. I think they're missing out on the best show on earth. I mean, it's just crazy.
Oh, it is. When you know what's happening, you feel so peaceful, but you can see the chaos and these people. There was a lovely picture the other day of a woman with like a plastic box around her head, a little flap on there. Oh, you just went, really?
Oh my God! I think that's the best divide and conquer ever concocted. The mask wearers or the people that want freedom, and that's almost a 50-50 down the middle. Yeah. So there's just another divide and conquer going on amidst everything else, and people screaming at each other for these masks, and there's no science for it at all. No. And Sweden was an experiment with 30 million people having not worn masks as just the effect of not doing any lockdown or anything, and look how well it worked. So that's, you can't do a bigger experiment than that. If that's not proof, what is?
We're overlooking the facts as well, because the fact is that it was downgraded to nothing more than the common cold back in March, and that's on the WHO website.
Well, I've heard reports that every single patient or person who was positive had the flu jab previously.
That's correct.
I heard, and that seems to be from a lot of different medical sources.
Yeah.
And also the tests were contaminated, and they were even publicly sent back. They were contaminated. So alarm bells ring when the tests have the virus in, and they don't know if you've got it or not. So it's nonsense. And they hardly touched Bulgaria, but they went straight. They had to go into the lockdown. I think they were paid off, like Belarus came out with and said, look, they offered me $600 million to do the lockdown, and I refused because it's the New World Order trying to take up.
Correct.
He had said that, and obviously they didn't have a problem with the virus. No one did anything about it. But if you only have to look a little bit further than your own nose to see what's going on. It's blatantly obvious, to be honest.
Exactly. You have to come into very close contact with somebody who's got a cold to catch a cold. That's just human nature every year. And a virus can't exist outside the body 24 degrees or above. So the minute it leaves your body, it dies. So it can't be transmitted. It can only happen in the cold. And some point that I've made out now, old people who are wearing a mask right now, old people, you're doing yourself so much damage because you're breaking down your weakened immune system anyway. So when a virus does come along in November or December, you're absolutely in trouble. You're right in bang trouble because your body's immune system has been broken down through the summer months by wearing a mask because you're recycling your own air.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Well, it feels like a bit of a cold, to be honest. I know they're all about euthanization of people.
Yeah.
And it's like a big cold. It certainly busted people economically.
Yeah.
It's just to bankrupt the middle class. And obviously the big corporations have done great out of all this. Amazon, everyone's buying on Amazon, so they've done great. Well, they've crushed millions of businesses in the process. And I'm amazed how peaceful people are in certain places. Actually, I know Germany's really kicking off. Bulgaria and Serbia are going mad with it. Britain, you could hear a pin drop, I think, on the amount of people that just seem to be taking it. And it's like they can do anything, actually.
Yeah.
Australia are obviously in real trouble as well, which with their full-on fascist government at the moment. And
South Africa's the same.
Really?
South Africa's in trouble. Yeah.
I mean, I'm being positive that these things are all going to sort of pop, and that everyone's going to be free when all this sort of breaks out. There's going to be no question. Do you think?
100%, because what he's having to do is he's having to let them expose themselves. The previous administration would go in and force regime change. The world doesn't like that. The world doesn't like that.
Yeah.
So when he can expose them for being evil, then they'll leave it to the people to decide who they want in power.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out who should be. And I think we'll move away from party politics. Yeah,
and I think removing the bank system with them at the head, really. I mean, let's face it, they've been buying out politicians for years.
Correct.
So if we can remove that whole structure, then you might get some democracy in our lives. Yeah. Which I think people don't even know what democracy looks like, to be honest, or freedom at this point. I don't think it's ever really been a thing. It's always been an illusion.
Exactly right. It certainly has. It certainly has. Well, thank you very much for your time, Joseph. I'll call you Jason. Joseph, really appreciate your time and your input.
Oh, you're welcome, Charlie. Anytime. Can I just say something that, I mean, we're trying to red pill some new people here, of course, and it can become a bit of an echo chamber otherwise. But I think once you start to delve into this stuff, it's so broad in scope that you can that you actually start to change everything about your life, because you realize the food you're taking is poisonous, and even my light bulbs I sort of consider. And this goes into so many areas that you can start to become healthy and well-rounded and figure things out and realize how things work. And the world's a lot less scary, I think, once you sort of take control of it and you understand how things work and you understand how to protect yourself as well, which is very important, kids.
Very, very important. Very, very important. On that note, just growing your own vegetables, the excitement of being able to grow something and then eat it is incredible.
Oh yeah, and Bulgaria is wonderful for that. You know, they grow all their own stuff. They don't import loads of stuff, and it's the most beautiful, fresh, colourful vegetables, and a super healthy bunch of people actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you are what you eat.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Thank you very much, sir. Joseph, a real pleasure to meet you.
You too, darling. Keep it up, warriors, and peace. Speak to you next time.
Cheers.
Hi, it's Justin, and I hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.